Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video. Now in today's video, we are going to look at the I.L.M of quadratic graphs. So what is the I, L, and the M? The I stands for intercepts, okay, where we have the X-intercept and the Y-intercepts. And the L stands for the line of symmetry, okay, where it's actually, for quadratic graph, is a vertical line that cuts the x-axis. And the M stands for a maximum or minimum point, or sometimes the question can ask you to find the maximum or the minimum value. Let's go about and see how we can solve the following I, L, and M. Let's begin with the intercepts. To find the x-intercept, now x-intercept, what does it mean? It means it cuts the x-axis. When it cuts the x-axis, then we'll know that the value for the y is equals to 0. So usually we'll be given an equation, and what we need to do, we'll need to substitute the value of y equals to 0 into our equation and then solve for the value of x. Now we'll use the next question as an example to go through the following skills later. Next one, for the y-intercept. The y-intercept means it cuts the y-axis. Now when the point cuts the y-axis, the value of the x will become 0. Now what we need to do, we just need to substitute the x equals to 0 into the equation and we'll be able to get the value for the y. Now, we'll notice that for a quadratic equation, in general, they will have two x-intercepts. These two x-intercepts are the values that help us to find the equation for the line of symmetry. Okay, so if I want to find the equation for the line of symmetry, what do I need to do? I need to take the two x solutions, add them together and divide by 2. Now this action will give me the number that is right in the middle of the two x-intercepts. So then I know that the equation of a line of symmetry in general for the quadratic graph is always a vertical line. A vertical line itself, it looks like this. This is a vertical line, and a vertical line usually cuts the x-axis only at one particular value. Okay, so in this case, the equation of a line of symmetry will always be x equals to something. So we'll just need to find the number in between the two x-intercept and write x equals to something for the equation of the line of symmetry. Common mistakes by students are that they just write the number, but they never put x equals to. A number is just a number, it's not an equation. So in this case, you need to make sure you include x equals to something, right? Up next, how are we going to find the maximum or minimum point, right? What we know about quadratic graphs, this line of symmetry, our minimum point, our maximum point will pass through the line of symmetry. Therefore, the x values over here are the same. So what I need to do, I'll need to plug in the x value, okay, into my equation. I'll sub in the x value into the equation, and I can calculate the y value. And that will give me the coordinate of a maximum point, right? A point have a pair of values, the x value and the y value. Okay, sometimes the question may ask for the maximum or minimum value of just the y. So which one is the y value? This is the x value and this is just the y value. So after you found the coordinates for the minimum point, the y value will be the maximum or minimum value for that graph. Feeling confused? Don't worry, let's begin by doing a sample question. First type. Now today in this part of the video, we're going to look at the positive x squared graphs where it gives a smiley face, right? Okay, I'll do the type 2 or negative x squared graphs, right, in another part of the video. So let's focus on this type of graph first. For example, in this question below, the curve itself has the equation y equals to 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. Okay, and it cuts the x-axis at the points P and Q and the y-axis at R. What what does this actually mean? Now, the moment we read the following, we need to quickly include. When it say cut the x-axis, what happens to the y value? Y is equals to 0. Okay, and you know that we have 2 points, P and Q, so these are our x-intercepts. And it cuts the curve at the y-axis. The moment we see this, immediately we must think, what's the value for the x? When it cuts the y-axis, x will be equals to 0. So this is at the point R. So this is our y-intercept over here. Let's look at our first part of the question. First part of the question says write down the coordinates of R. Coordinates, right? The question asks for coordinates. So it's actually asking for a pair of values. You have a pair of values, you need a x and a y value. Now, what do we know when we say coordinates of R? R cuts the y-axis. So when R cuts the y-axis, x is equals to 0. So what we're going to do, we're going to substitute x equals to 0 into our equation. What is our equation? Our equation is y equals to 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. So when x is equals to 0, y will now be equals to 2 times 0 squared. Anything multiplied by 0 is still 0. 6 times 0 minus 8. So all these values over here become 0. So the y value is just the number negative 8. But is this our final answer? Is negative 8 our final answer? No, the question asked for coordinates. So we need to know the coordinates. Now I know that the value for y is negative 8. So I plugged in my y coordinate is negative 8. Right? But what's my x coordinate? So what's the x value? Oh, remember? What did we do? We substitute x is equals to the value 0 over here. So x is the number 0. X is 0. So this pair of coordinates will be 0, negative 8. Right? That's the point for R itself. So we know this value over here, negative 8. Alright, is that okay? Now let's move on to the next part. Find the coordinates of P and Q. So what's so special about P and Q? And the question here says they want the coordinates. So in this case, I have 2 points over here that I need to fill up with pair of coordinates, x and y values. Now question says P and Q. What's so special about P and Q? Well, P and Q cuts the x-axis. So when it cuts the x-axis, the y value is equals to 0. So we know that the y value over here is equals to 0. What we are going to do, we're going to sub y equals to 0 into our equation. Y equals to 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. Okay, and it will become 0 is equals to 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. So in this case, we need to be very careful about our solving of equations. Right? You notice that this usually in general in Sec 2 level, you'll be able to do factorization. Okay, so we need to do a factorization to find our answer. Okay, but before we begin, there is a number 2, 6, and 8. All of them are in multiples of 2. So what we can actually do, we can simplify our equation and divide both sides by 2. Right? So that we get 0. 0 divided by any number is still 0, right? And then this one will become x squared. This is 3x. This is minus 4. Now, there are many different methods taught by teacher. So, your teacher may teach you how to use the calculator, or may teach you how to do try and error in a box method, or try and error in a cross method. So for me, I teach my students to use both the calculator and the cross method. So if I were to use the calculator, depending on your calculator, different calculator have different mode for quadratic equations. For my students, I teach them mode 522 or mode 33, right? But a value, the number of coefficient for x square, number of units of x square is 1. Number of units for x is negative 3, and the number of units for y is negative 4. Okay, using your calculator, you can key in your answer to help you to get the answers, right? Mode 33 or 522, 1, negative 3, negative 4. Let's see what answers we can get. Okay, I shall use the cross method from now on, right? So I want to get an x square, so I'll have x times x to give me x square. And I need to get a 4, so I'll take 4 times 1 to give me 3. There can be many different combinations, right? So in this case, I'll just try this too. So this is 4x, and that will be 3, sorry, not 3, 1x, right? I need a negative 3. Oh, this one is 4, so sorry. I need a negative 3x. That means my negative sign must go to the larger number. So this is negative 4x plus x. Bring it over the sign. This will be negative. This is plus. I'll get minus 4. So what are our two brackets over here? We'll get the two factors, x minus 4 and x plus 1, to be equals to 0. Okay? And from here, we can see the first answer, x minus 4 is equals to 0. The other answer will be x plus 1 to be equals to 0. Okay, I'm running out of space here. So let me just write it the other side. So if x minus 4 is equals to 0, it means x is equals to the number 4. Or my second answer, x plus 1 is equals to 0. Bringing over this, it become negative. X equals to negative 1. So happily, I got two answers. One is 4, one is negative 1. Now comes the question. Look at P and Q. Which is 4, which is negative 1? Which is 4? Q is the number 4, right? And which is negative 1? P will be the number that is negative 1. Alright? So we have these two answers, but is it going to be my final answer? No, right? Because the question asks for coordinates. So I know P, for point P, P is the point negative 1 for my x value. Q is 4. But what's my y coordinates? What's my y value? I substituted y equals to 0. Right? So in this case, we have our two answers. Right? P will be negative 1, 0. And Q will be 4, 0. Have you gotten the concept? Okay, so let's roughly go through it again. Firstly, it cuts the x-axis, so I sub y equals 0 into my equation. Then secondly, I need to use factorization to solve this equation. For me itself, in this particular question, I noticed there's a multiple of values, so I can divide by 2. Or for example, if you prefer to work with positive x squared and sometimes your equation is a negative x squared, you can also divide by a negative sign throughout, okay, to change your equation into a positive x squared equation so that you can find the answers in an easier method. Alright, then after we get the values, we match them in the diagram and we know that the y value is equals to 0. So that's the part for I-intercepts on finding the y-intercepts over here and the x-intercepts over here. Now let's move on to the next part. I, L, and M. L is the line of symmetry. Where is my line of symmetry? So let me see whether if I can take out my ruler. Oh yes, draw my ruler. Now the line of symmetry will be right in the middle of my graph. Alright, okay, let me draw my graph properly. So the line of symmetry will be somewhere over here. Okay, this is my line of symmetry. Then what do I need to know? This is definitely a line that's a vertical line. It will cut x equals to something. Cut the x-axis at a particular number over here. Right, this particular number over here. But what is this number? What is the number that's in between -1 and 4? The number that's right in the middle over here, I'll need to take -1 plus 4 divided by 2. And that will give me 1.5 or 3 over 2. Alright, so I know that number is 1.5. And that equation cuts a x-axis, right? So the equation or line must be x equals to something. So in this case, it will be x equals to the number 1.5. Alright, okay, let's go on to write our working for our answer. Equation of the line of symmetry, it cuts the x-axis definitely, so it must be x equals to something. I'll take the two x values over here, -1 and 4. -1 plus 4, we add them together, divide by 2. So this will be our two x-intercept values. And we get x equals to 1.5. Common mistake, students just write the number 1.5 or 3 over 2. Okay, but that's just a number. I need an equation. So you must have the x in front. This one. Okay, must have. Now we are done with I.L. And the last part now we'll be going on to M. What is a M? M is either the maximum or a minimum value. Now let's take a look at our graph. You notice our graph is in going down, have smiley face, right? So you go down, reach a minimum value, and then go up again, right? So when it's at this minimum point over here, this point, right? What is my x coordinate? What's the x coordinate? Well, the x coordinate is this point 1.5. So this x coordinate over here is actually the number 1.5. And then I'll need to substitute into my equation to find the value for my y. So let's move on to write the working. To find the minimum, this question here asks for the minimum value of the curve. So they only want the y value for that curve. Okay, the minimum y value. And this happens when x is equals to the line of symmetry, the value 1.5. So our sub x is equals to the number 1.5. Right, 1.5 into my equation. Into my curve, y equals to 2 times x squared minus 6x minus 8. And my x value is the number 1.5. 1.5. Okay, let me calculate what this value is. Oh, my calculator shows the number to be -12.5. So if the question is only asking for the minimum value of the curve, the value itself, the y value, the value of the curve will be just -12.5. Okay, but if the question asks you the next part to ask you for the coordinates of the minimum points, okay, or in this case, of course, it must be a minimum. They want a pair of coordinates. So your answer have to come in terms of a pair of coordinates. What is the x value? The x value over here is my x value that I substitute in, okay, from my equation of the line of symmetry. And what is the y value? Okay, the y value will be the number that I just calculated just now, the minimum value, negative 12.5. Okay, have you gotten the concept? When we want to find the minimum value, okay, or the maximum value, what do we need to know? We need to know that the equation for the last symmetry, the x value is the same as the x coordinate for the minimum point, right? And what we need to do, how do we find the y value? What we need to sub x equals to 1.5 into my equation and calculate the y value. That will be a minimum value for your curve, for the smiley type face, right? If it's a sad face of x, negative x squared, that will be a maximum value. So this is the value. And for the y, so we plug in this portion for the y coordinates. Alright, okay, with that, we've come to the end of this part of the lesson, and we'll see you for the next video on finding the next type, negative x squared graph. See you for the next lesson. Bye.